Hi everyone, my name is Daniela and I'm here as part of the team at Oxford College of Marketing. I would just like for you to be aware that the session will be recorded and it can be sent out as well later on afterwards. So today we have got Martech Club and it's hosted by Robin McMillan. So as you may have all been aware, the host. And this session will be on ChatGPT versus Deep Seek, and it's a marketer's guide. Just in case you weren't aware, Robin McMillan is a self-proclaimed nerd who's put on this earth to help organizations and individuals understand their marketing data, demystify MarTech, and make complicated things more accessible. So she will be leading today's talk and we'll have her presentation. Then you're more than welcome to ask questions throughout the session. And we can go through those questions during the session as well as at the end. So Robin, ready to take it away?
Yes, today's a really fun one. It's a lot of deep diving into the platforms and seeing the differences between the two. One of the things I will ask those that are joining, if you have a prompt that you would like to try within ChatGPT versus DeepSeek, please pop that in the chat. I have some examples that I will go through and I will show you how both platforms work, what we need to know, what we need to worry about within these kind of different AI platforms. But it's always fun to see what you would like to compare. Maybe it's a prompt that you use daily within your kind of marketing roles, or one you want to see the difference between the two. So I just want to kind of touch base on why we created the Martech Club. And the whole idea is to empower us as marketers to thrive in our industry because it's changing faster than ever, right? And as technology, especially AI, reshapes the way that we reach and engage our audiences, we need to stay informed and we need to adapt to these kind of new tech that we're faced with on the day-to-day. So this kind of webinar series, this Martech Club, we designed this to bridge that knowledge, and it's a pleasure of mine to actually run these sessions. So let's get started today. So as you can all see, there are leaders within the AI kind of frontier that we are kind of experiencing. And a name has recently risen to kind of stardom, and that is DeepSeek. We are very used to talking about ChatGPT, OpenAI, Midjourney, these things that we have had access to. And DeepSeek kind of came in and really rumbled the kind of AI accessibility opportunities and also what we could suddenly achieve with AI. And it was met with severe backlash, right? As soon as this kind of platform came into our feeds, people started to use it, interact with it, integrate it into our world, our marketing processes. It was an AI platform that caused a lot of controversy. And it was controversy not for the traditional reasons that AI has caused us problems from the start, right? It had additional issues when this platform came to rise. Has anybody used DeepSeek or actually seen it kind of in action? You can let me know in the chat or give me a kind of indicator. But what we're going to do today is we're going to look at the differences between the two very similar platforms, the issues that we face when deciding which profile to utilize and to connect with. Okay, Hannah, you're in for a treat today to see what DeepSeek does. And also kind of develop an understanding of how to truly understand which platform we should be looking at integrating within our processes as marketers, right? So let's start with our familiar friend. Who uses ChatGPT? Yeah, we all do, right? And ChatGPT is what we class as a conversational AI model, and it is, of course, developed by OpenAI. It's designed to understand and generate human-like language And that is what we love about this platform, right? It is the platform that we can talk to and develop a conversation with, and we get the right kind of output that we can actually use and understand as an individual. My nan can use ChatGPT. My mum can use ChatGPT. And that is something that I never thought would actually happen, that they could easily sit down and interact with an AI platform and actually get an output that works, right? That we can actually utilize. So this platform, this conversational AI, allows us to carry on conversations with the platform, answer our questions, and it assists us with various writing tasks overall. Now, it's really important to understand the foundational technology that sits behind these platforms, because if we don't recognize and understand what is actually happening when we're prompting these platforms, when we're inputting our data into it, when we're expecting it to do these wonderful things that we ask it to do on the regular, then we're really not going to be able to get the full function out of these platforms. Yeah. So the technology behind ChatGPT, OpenAI, is incredibly transparent in the way that it kind of works. I lost the word in English and in Swedish. This image, this kind of map of their technology that sits behind the prompts and how it works, is all kind of done by them. And they update whenever the platform has an update, they update their own information too. So the large language model, so the technology behind ChatGPT, it belongs to a class of AI systems known as large language models. Yeah. And these models learn to predict the next word in a sentence, having been trained on vast amounts of data. And that data comes from books, websites, and other publicly accessible sources. The deep learning architecture that it is sat upon is called the transformer. And now what the transformer actually does is it processes words in a sentence all at once. Yeah, so in parallel, rather than one by one. And that means that we can capture the relationship between those words, and it can understand the context that you are asking a question in. So instead of it going, so if you ask ChatGPT, please create me a LinkedIn post, instead of it going LinkedIn post create, it sees the sentence as a whole. It tokenizes all of the pattern of that information. Yeah. The training process that it goes through. So in the pre-training phase, that's where we feed these kind of models all of that large volume of information, all of that text that it has access to. And what this allows the model like ChatGPT to do is it learns general language patterns and acquires broad knowledge. Yeah, it's a broad knowledge simulator about grammar, facts, and relationships between words. So it's learning our language. It's learning how to take the information we give it, compare it to the information it has stored, and then how does it create that response that we have access to? So after it's kind of gone through its infancy, it's kind of moved up through the kind of process that it goes through when it's learning how to respond to us, how to understand us, we then get kind of fine tuning. So after it has all of that information in the pre-training, it undergoes a fine tuning step using created data sets. So this is where we have example questions, instructions, and appropriate kind of responses. It's important to note that this is an incredibly key part of building an LLM, because often human reviewers are part of this world here now, because we're guiding the model's behavior by providing examples and feedback. So we're letting it know what is a good response and what is a not so good response. Yeah. And then an additional layer of improvement goes on top of that, where human testers rank and rate sample outputs. So the way ChatGPT does what it does very well is it has had this time to absorb and understand the information. When we give it a prompt, it takes that prompt and looks at it as a whole instead of a string of actions. So it understands context very well. It takes that away, that prompt that we give it, it goes and looks at what it has, and then it creates you the best answer it can possibly do. Yeah. And all of a sudden, it's not really as clever as we think, right? Because it cannot create. All it is doing is taking the question that we ask from it, checking what data it has access to, and then providing it to you, your answer, in a way that we understand. Yeah. So it's like a really, really big set, like a big library that it just has to go and check everything out in, and then pull you the right books, pull you the right information back out. So a prompt comes in, the labeler demonstrates the desired output, and then it learns what that is. The comparison data trains, like in the comparison data model in the step 2, we learn basically what is expected, what the model is expected to do. And then this last step in finalizing how we get information out of ChatGPT is basically we tell it yes or no, we reward the model, and then that is the behavior it takes into the platform. Yeah. So what we know that ChatGPT does from a marketing kind of perspective, it's conversational assistance. So it engages in text-based dialogue, offering responses that appear contextually aware, and it can remember parts of a conversation and maintain a coherent exchange for multiple turns. It's wonderful at information retrieval. It doesn't browse the internet in real time. What it does is leverages patterns it's learned to generate the answers, yeah? And it can be really useful for retrieving facts, explanations, though it is important to verify the information. Of course, we use it for creative and writing support, draft blogs, emails, social media captions, marketing copy, all of that gorgeous stuff. And it's also able to mimic different writing styles and tones. And that's especially valuable for those seeking kind of editorial assistance. And given its understanding of linguistic patterns, ChatGPT can translate text between languages to a certain degree of accuracy. It's also a wonderful educational aid. It can explain concepts, provide study assistance, and help clarify complex topics. Yeah, it's great for learning and quick research. What is somebody's favorite thing to do on ChatGPT? Mine is when I can't remember what a word means. I honestly use that quite a lot. I'm like, what does that even mean? Or can you use this word in context? So I use it a lot of that. So I use a lot of that kind of educational aid and information retrieval. People use it in different ways. But we are, would you say, very accustomed to how ChatGPT works. I don't think anything what it does is shocking anymore. It's very accessible. It's very understandable, right? So the key takeaways for this platform compared to Deep Seek, which we will go on to next before we start doing those comparisons, is that ChatGPT aims to assist users by producing coherent, context-relevant text based on our prompts. Yeah. The underlying tech, it's built on large-scale transformer-based neural networks, and it's improved through human feedback. It can generate incorrect or nonsensical information because it tries its hardest to give us an answer. And if it doesn't quite know, it kind of fills that gap with magic and then gives you the answer. Yeah. And overall, it represents a great leap forward in things like AI-driven text generation, and its transformer foundation, its massive training data set. It's one of the best at doing what it does. Yeah. Now let's move on to DeepSeek and the differences between ChatGPT and DeepSeek. And then we're going to use both of the platforms to see what the differences are. So DeepSeek is an advanced AI search and analysis platform. Yeah, its whole thing is analysis and search, designed to process large volumes of data. But the key here is it is aimed to deliver precise, context-driven results. It combines powerful natural language understanding with deep data indexing, and DeepSeek can sift through vast, complex information repositories to surface meaningful insights quickly and accurately. Yeah. So already there's a huge difference in kind of how it is even just explained realistically. And the way that it is described and the way we expect these things to work, we already know that this is going to be totally different to ChatGPT. Yeah. There's a difference in how these models are accessed too. So one of the big things about DeepSeek is that it is open source. And DeepSeek wanted to democratize access to high performance language models. And what that means is it wanted to give us true access to all of these wonderful things without having to pay. Because one of the things that we pay for as users with ChatGPT is the beautiful UI. They deal with all the data, they deal with all the privacy and all that kind of stuff. Developers around the world can experiment with, modify, and improve DeepSeek models, hoping to accelerate the pace of AI innovation. And this open kind of strategy contrasts sharply with the black box approach many of the US-based models like OpenAI, where underlying architectures and training methodologies remain hidden from public view. So one of the reasons that DeepSeek really smashed into the kind of MarTech world and AI tech kind of accessibility was the fact it was suddenly open source. Yeah. Now, the way that this kind of works slightly differently as well is that DeepSeek uses kind of advanced neural network models trained to understand language at a granular level. So they're slightly more powerful than ChatGPT. And this allows the user within the system to accurately parse user queries. And what I mean by that is it separates it in levels of need. So we can retrieve relevant data or relevant documents from extensive sources. So it can truly understand on a deeper level what you are trying to do. DeepSeek's model doesn't just look for keywords, yeah, which OpenAI can be blamed to do. And they actually analyze the context and underlying semantics of the text. And what it aims to do here is that by recognizing the intent behind queries, DeepSeek can return results that are actually more aligned. And you'll see that in a few seconds. It has massive pre-training again. It has fine-tuning similar to kind of ChatGPT. And it also has an element of reinforcement learning. But if you have a look here, you can see that cost per deployment is very low because it's open source with DeepSeek. OpenAI and cloud, you have to pay. Multimodality, you get full access with DeepSeek. Limited with OpenAI because you can create APIs to connect things. And cloud, slightly partial. You can fine tune it yourself. You can have on-premises hosting and the community support is robust. It has a whole world behind DeepSeek, yeah? But when you compare it to OpenAI and cloud, you suddenly recognize that realistically, for people wanting a high-powered AI solution within their organizations, why would you not use DeepSeek? Yeah. So they are the kind of main kind of technical differences. But Deep Seek's whole bag is powerful search and discovery. It excels at combining through large document repositories, databases, and its whole thing is to be more relevant and more nuanced than ChatGPT, especially for complex queries. It allows you to do things like natural language querying very well. So users can type questions or prompts in plain language rather than relying on strict keyword syntax, which actually OpenAI prefers you to do. And we then can interpret that within DeepSeek as content rich. So we get good answers, making this platform more intuitive. It's more insightful. It has better recommendations. One thing that is really interesting with DeepSeek is you can also do domain-specific expertise. So you can train it for specialized fields. So whatever your organization is in, whatever your client is in that you are supporting, you can do medical, legal, financial, or academic. And this is where precise context-aware retrieval is crucial, so it can give you better responses as well. And it's also incredibly scalable. Yeah. So the key takeaways that we're looking at here, can you see that there's not actually that much difference in the two platforms? If you'd gone quickly look that, you could have seen that maybe have been ChatGPT. But the purpose with DeepSeek is it aims to produce context-driven intelligent search. The underlying tech, it is built on robust neural network architecture. It's versatile. As with any advanced AI, though, DeepSeek's effectiveness does depend on the quality of its training data and ongoing fine-tuning. What DeepSeek does represent, though, is a new wave of search technology, bringing together natural language understanding, massive data processing, and user-centric refinements. So changes we decide as users rather than the organization. And Hannah, you just sign up like you do ChatGPT. So it's just signing up with your email. So let's have a quick gander at the kind of two different pieces of technology. Just have to move everything away from all of my different screens to pull them back through. But has anyone got any initial questions? Kind of between the two? Let me go on to new chat so I don't spoil any things that we're going to do moving forward. Okay. So let's have a look at the differences. So we're all very kind of in tune with ChatGPT. We put our questions in here. This is a very poor prompt, by the way. Please create a much better prompt than I just did. This is just for speed and accuracy. So as we ask ChatGPT, we create contextual conversation. So within our kind of conversations here, anything that we pop into here stays within this conversation, so it can enhance, it can iterate from the same kind of processes. And we can also, within ChatGPT, connect to specific GPTs, one being Canva, so we can work directly doing the best kind of tasks connected to other things. So let's do an inspirational quote and a graphic here. Yes, so both can now do it, Antonio. Would either or both of the platforms pick up on the text within an infographic? They both can now do it, but I would say that DeepSeek would be slightly better due to the ability for it to give more contextual information from imagery. So let's have a look what we can do within Canva here. So let's do motivation, because it is a Monday, right? Motivation Monday. So what this is doing is it's allowing us to use an AI agent, ChatGPT, to connect to our other platform, Canva, create in a very wonderful conversational way, but then have access and basically be able to edit it straight into Canva. Yeah. And there's loads and loads. That's a terrible one, though, to be fair. Oh, it thinks that we're doing a series of Motivational Monday series. Well, maybe that's fine. So then what we can do is you can actually kind of go straight into Canva and edit them directly. So there's great things that you can do with ChatGPT. You can connect directly to the different platforms using the little agents that it allows you to have now, and then allow you to move backwards. One of the things that you will notice, though, if you're an avid user of ChatGPT, is it is surface level. Yeah, we have to give really good prompts. We have to ensure that we are feeding the platform and allowing it to truly understand what we want. Yeah. If we create a folder or a project, what we can then do, I'll just put Martech Lab for now, is what we are doing here is basically creating an online directory for ChatGPT to reserve information about a certain thing. So you can add your files, your branding documentation, your information that you would add here. You could add instructions, so you can actually specifically say, this is my brand voice. I need things in this kind of templates, and allow yourself a space to work effectively doing the same thing over and over again. Again, please be aware that any information that you put into a system trains the system. So you must have seen the many different kind of situations where people from Samsung and Ericsson put coding data into ChatGPT when it first came out to try and improve the code. And actually, it was then accessible and discoverable by competitors and things like that. So make sure with any platform, you understand what you're doing when you are integrating tech in there. We, of course, have Sora now, which is integrated in ChatGPT, which allows us to create imagery directly in here. And if anyone saw my post today about today's webinar, you will have seen that I created my image in here. Yeah, so ChatGPT is a great all-rounder. Yeah, it is something that we pay for. We pay our subscription to have access to this gloriously wonderful, easy to use, intuitive platform. But as you can see, we have the rocket emoji. So the prompts and the things that we get out of ChatGPT are becoming very noticeable by a lot of the individuals that we see. You've probably seen many a LinkedIn post that has the double dash here, and the rocket emoji, the light bulb. We love that one. And we are actually starting to see that this may not be fulfilling the needs that we need it to do. Yeah. Even with great prompting, we need to be careful because we can only put so much prompting in to ChatGPT overall. So yeah, it's good. It does a lot of things well, but it is a one-size-fits-all platform. It doesn't really have a specific niche unless you start connecting to specific kind of GPTs. Yeah. So I'm not going to spend much more time kind of going around this kind of system. But if anyone has any specific ChatGPT questions, please let me know. Yeah. And what I will do now is we will go on to Deep Seek. So guys, it's not much different, right? It's pretty much a reskin of the same thing. And the reason is because we are so used to this UI when it comes to actually connecting with large language models now that realistically, they will all kind of look like this. So what did I ask ChatGPT? I can't remember. Write me a post about Marta. Okay. So let's ask ChatGPT, the DeepSeek, the same. Now, what is the major difference you see when this starts to create? What were the differences that you saw there? So it tries to be more contextual. Yeah, I did understand how to use emojis better. Yeah. We still got the rocket emoji though, which was a bit sad. But what it is actually doing is it's trying to explain better to you why it does a certain thing. So we can also change the model here. Yeah. Why did you create this post? So what we can do is ask how it got to this point, and I'll show you the difference between the two platforms. So it's giving me the full reasoning, yeah? It is going to go on for quite a while, so I'm just going to pop back in and ask ChatGPT the same thing. So it gave me a full way for me to kind of understand why it did that. And then ChatGPT. So as you can see, Deep Seek goes into higher levels of detail in its explanation. Yeah. The way you use Deep Seek is exactly the same. It has an app that you can download directly onto your phone. It can save your conversations to be contextual. It doesn't yet have projects. I believe that's in the pipeline, and you can't connect it directly. But with it being open source, you can find your own option to do that, right? Yes. So yes, Hannah, it is, but the data still goes into their directory, which I will explain in a second. Yeah, so it is that you've got that exactly right, but the data does still get kind of absorbed. So as you can see, Deep Seek is not much different. Yeah, we're still using it in the same way. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing and go through some comparisons of these platform outputs so you can kind of see the differences regarding different types of prompts that you may access within these kind of processes. And then we're sadly going to have to talk about the problems with this new kind of accessible AI, open source kind of AI. So if you can all see my screen again, right? Yes. So the prompt, yeah, the prompt that it was given was a train leaves New York at 8 a.m. traveling west at 60 miles per hour. Another train leaves Los Angeles at 6 a.m. traveling east at 70 miles per hour on the same track. If the distance between New York and Los Angeles is this type of miles, at what time will the two trains meet? So what you can see is that ChatGPT showed the math as it usually does, but it showed fewer steps than DeepSeek. When the answers came out, you would have thought that they should be the same, right? Yeah. However, after checking the answer, ChatGPT got it wrong. So it was immediately disqualified. It was never going to win, right? When we compare platforms. The DeepSeek kind of search, the speed at which it did this compared to ChatGPT was incredibly faster. After checking the math manually, oh, my camera's gone off, so I will fix that in a second. The speed at which the AI kind of brought it back was so much faster than ChatGPT. And after checking the math and trying it out on cloud, just to double check, DeepSeek got it right. So when it comes to critical thinking, DeepSeek won over ChatGPT. Yeah. We then have, when we're looking at kind of coding and its coding behavior, so the prompt here was write a Python function that takes a list of integers and returns a new list containing only the prime numbers from the original list. And you may be going, Robin, why are we asking this in a MarTech kind of thing? And it's because when we're creating specific code for a website and for a specific function on a website, we can end up asking these kind of unusual questions, which are outside of our normal skill set, right? So then when we kind of ask, yes, Hannah, ChatGPT does confidently get things wrong sometimes, absolutely. So ChatGPT generated a Python function to filter prime numbers, including an explanation of the logic used. The answer was simple enough for a novice programmer to kind of understand. It does kind of give you the option to edit, and it's useful when you want to iterate. But this response by DeepSeek was much more succinct. It focused on the end code itself, but it also provided explanatory comments of why it chose to do this in a certain way. And the winner here was actually ChatGPT. So ChatGPT was able to create something that actually worked. DeepSeek, it was a great process, but it actually didn't work when it actually came to the piece of technology. So what we can see here is there is there's two sides to every platform, right? And it is all about truly trying to understand what is the right platform for the right output. In terms of using it or using ChatGPT versus DeepSeek, it is purely dependent on you trying them out, because realistically, if one platform does one thing better, you should always be using that platform for that overall. Yeah. AI platforms like ChatGPT, like DeepSeek, they are attempting to do a lot of things well, whereas they are not niche for a specific thing. And it is all dependent on the way that we interact with it, and also the way that we interact with the prompts themselves and the output that is delivered by the process. So I'm just going to stop sharing again. And we're going to...
Sorry, Robin. Hannah popped a quick question, which was, is it good to verify one bit of AI output with the other AI platform then?
Absolutely. And then bringing cloud to be a mediator. Because realistically, if you are asking it a question that you cannot verify yourself, how do you truly know that the output is actually correct? How often are we truly checking our AI content? Yeah. Realistically, we need to always be double checking what we are actually creating, because if we're using it within marketing, we're putting it out into the world, we're using it to teach, we're using it to explain. If we're not checking the validity and the accuracy of it, that could bite us on the ass very quickly, right? Look at all the brands that use like ChatGPT to create content, and then all of a sudden it was showcased that it was just twaddle that they actually put out into the world. And this is an amazing prompt that you can kind of use when kind of just playing around with AI models, because it allows you to understand how they kind of think. Yeah. And it is the wibble wobble theory. I don't know if anybody has heard of this. Maybe not. But basically what this is I want you to go and ask your AI systems, if all wibbles are wobbles and all wobbles are wobbles, can we conclude that all wibbles are wobbles? And I want you to see what their reasoning is. And the reason that we do this is we want to test their level of complexity. So if we have a look at wibbles to wobbles, yeah, in ChatGPT, basically, we can conclude that all wibbles are wobbles, and this is the reasoning that they go through. So it literally was like, this is why, and this is the conclusion. Yeah. So all wibbles are wobbles, all wobbles are wobbles. Yeah, and that was pretty much it. So it didn't really give you the understanding of how it came to that conclusion. There wasn't much transparency, there wasn't much explanation. When we actually look at DeepSeek, we get a lot more information of how it came to this kind of example. And if you can understand it and it aligns with you, then you can trust the output of that AI model. Yeah. So when you go through and try out the different platforms, that is a great one to kind of look at. Another one to do when you're testing differences in AI models and the outputs is to ask it to write you a story, because this is one of the most creative things that it can do. Now, bearing in mind, it can't create you anything new. What it's doing is it's going away and finding the data that best matches and then bringing that back to you, right? So in the differences here, you can see that ChatGPT created a kind of, it was okay. A lot of this kind of double dash, yeah. A lot of these small paragraphs, which is not really a story kind of syntax. And DeepSeek tried at least to come to the end of the story. So when you're kind of testing the models and validating the models, what you need to do is make sure that you're doing it in a way that aligns with you. So if it's all about wibbles and wobbles, and you can understand that and you could recognize what that actually means to you, then use that. But yes, Hannah, you should definitely be validating your AI content. So you're probably going, Robin, thank you so much for giving me this wonderful new option for ChatGPT. It's glorious. It does things really wonderfully. It obviously is more contextual, all those glorious things. Sadly, guys, I've got some things that you need to know. So what data does DeepSeek actually collect? Yeah. Now, according to its own privacy policy, it collects large amounts of data to the point where it is almost incredibly intrusive. And it is stored in secure servers in China. So this may include your email address, your phone number, your date of birth, any data that you have given when creating your account, any user input, including text, audio, chat histories, any technical information. So that could be your phone's model when you connect the app and things like that. It can be keystroke patterns of information inputted, and it will then share that information with others, such as service providers and advertising partners. And we need to just be aware that it harvests a lot of data, and it causes an issue when it is less transparent about its data use than its technological use and foundations. I think Diana's just got her hand up if she wants to ask a question. Daniela. I don't know if you can allow her to talk, maybe. And there is genuine concerns about why and where and how the data is stored when it comes to this platform. Yeah. AI prompts and things are stored. There's regulate.
Oh, sorry, Robin.
That's
Hi.
okay.
Will I allow her to talk, or shall I let you wrap up real quick?
No, she can talk. Of course she can.
There we go. Hi, Dana. Would you like to ask a question? Can you hear me? Or would it be better for you to pop it into the chat?
Okay, I'll carry on. And if she interrupts me, that's fine. Okay. And the issue is that there are not enough regulations for us to be totally kind of supportive of this data kind of use. Yeah. So places like the UK's Information Commissioner's Office urges transparency and says people should know how their data is used and be able to exercise their rights. But realistically, how is that actually going to happen, right? There has been a huge banning of DeepSeek. Several countries have restricted or banned DeepSeek, especially for government use, educational use, and work use due to privacy and security concerns. Italy was the first European country to ban it. They demanded clarity on how personal data is collected and stored. South Korea, Australia, Taiwan banned it for government employees, citing security risks. The Netherlands have then followed, worried about potential surveillance and cyber espionage. Of course, here we have to really put our kind of neutral hats on and recognize that geopolitical tensions do play a role here, with some experts suggesting the bans reflect certain alignment and mistrust of different tech. And experts warn that bans could increase public interest, actually. So it's continued to rise and create this buzz around DeepSeek rather than diminish it, actually. So we need to be careful that we don't make it like forbidden fruit and everybody's like, oh, I really want to see how this kind of works, realistically. There's concerns from the US because they fear that these models could be exploited for surveillance, intellectual property theft, and influence operations. The US Navy already banned DeepSeek among personnel due to security and ethical concerns. But it did still go to the top of the US Apple App Store, for example, because of the way it works. It's suddenly accessible, it's suddenly usable. And this debate mirrors the controversies that, if we look at TikTok as well, highlighting the complexities of balancing innovation, privacy, and national security in the AI kind of arena. And I've got one more sad thing as well. So there's also, they have severe security vulnerabilities. So DeepSeek's AI model has come under intense criticism following multiple reports that uncovered major security issues and a lack of adequate safeguards in the system itself. A significant revelation came from cloud security firm Wiz, which discovered that it left its database infrastructure exposed, which is not great. And that allowed virtually anyone at one point to access sensitive data, such as chat histories, and gain kind of administrative control. In a jailbreak test, running 50 harmful prompts to evaluate its resistance to input, sadly, each jailbreak attempt succeeded. So that was 100% failure rate in blocking harmful queries. So these kind of findings paint a troubling picture of DeepSeek's AI as being highly susceptible to data breaches, algorithmic manipulation, and harmful misuse. So it does have some red flags, I'm afraid, even though it is wonderfully powerful in the way that it works, its accessibility, and all that kind of wonderful stuff. So which tool do you prefer? Are you intrigued by DeepSeek? Are you going to have a go? I highly recommend you have a go, but make sure you do it on a safe computer. You sign in the safest way, and you recognize that your data is, the data that you put in is trained and used within the model and is accessible. So just have a think about these kind of different kind of processes. But it's always good to go and try it out. But these challenges surrounding DeepSeek go beyond technical vulnerabilities, because actually, when we use it as a brand, it can change our brand trust and our marketability, actually, because from a marketing point of view, we have data, compliance, and legal risks, which we do with any AI platform anyway, but they seem to be amplified when it comes to DeepSeek, right? With global regulations like EU's GDPR, California's CCPA, and so many others, those kind of misuse of data can lead to hefty fines, legal battles, and bans, and all that kind of stuff moving forward. There's a lack of transparency and erosion of trust when we use platforms like this. Damaged reputation spreads fast. And we also end up in basically a competitive disadvantage, because in a market dominated by players like OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, who emphasize safety, transparency, and compliance, DeepSeek trying to democratize and bring a accessible AI function, its vulnerabilities make it a less viable alternative for marketing realistically, and that kind of thing. And for enterprise adoption, where procurement teams thoroughly vet vendors, these red flags often mean immediate disqualification when used internally, which is why we've seen so many bans, so many like restrictions on use of this. If something is already in the public domain on one side, then there is still a data breach risk. Or is it just more sensitive data that we shouldn't use in there? I wouldn't put anything company specific, you know, like private to a company in there. I wouldn't put anything that is new or innovative, like R&D in there really. Or if you do it, don't use anything that has an identifier. So don't be like, I am from H&M and we are creating a new set of, I don't know, sandals. You're like, what could we call these sandals? Like, don't do things like that. I know I'm preaching to the choir for those that attend here today. But just in case you kind of got excited and tried to just quickly try and use it for something. So we need to just be careful. And one of the ways that we can really understand on what tool is good for what is use like the impact framework. So when you're choosing the right tool for your organization, whether that be AI driven, whether it be just a kind of personal tool to use, we can look at the impact. So the integration, can it fit into your existing tech stack? Does it integrate with your CRM, your CRS, your analytics, your vision, your mission, your culture, all that kind of stuff? Pick tools that minimize friction and enhance, not replace, your current marketing operations. Yeah, AI is not a replacement. And then we need to look at kind of, can we measure it? If we can't measure it, we can't optimize it, which is not a great place to be within your MarTech stack. You need to have a look at your privacy. How does the tool handle user data and brand safety? Well, if we're looking at Deep Seek, not very well, realistically. And can the tool to be trusted to protect proprietary or client-sensitive information? And especially for industries now, privacy isn't optional, it is essential. Yeah. And then we need to look at our accuracy. So does the output reflect our brand voice, our messaging accurately? How often does it produce hallucinations or misinformation? Here, always think in the back of your mind, AI isn't useful if it misrepresents your brand or misleads your audience. Yeah. And then we look at our creativity. Does the tool enhance creative output or just automate tasks? The best AI tools make marketers kind of faster. It doesn't replace our originality. And then we look at trust and transparency. So is the company behind the AI tool open about how things work? Are they clear about how their AI is trained? And trust realistically within this AI integration, adoption, and use, it is the foundation of long-term adoption and brand identity. So if you use the impact thing, you can kind of don't just ask yourself, what can this tool do? Ask, how will it impact my workflow, my brand, and the bottom line? Yeah, overall. So does anyone have a prompt that they want to try? We're in Deep Seek or ChatGPT before we go.
Feel free to pop that into the chat.
It could be as simple as like, create me an image for X. We can see how that works. But yeah, so has anybody got any questions kind of for today? Because it's like, it's a bit of a shame, right? It's this wonderful trying to be different, trying to connect people in a different way with this kind of darker underhandness of this platform that we don't get with OpenAI or ChatGPT. But realistically, within any AI kind of platform, the data we put in is used in some way. Yeah, it's just that DeepSeek isn't very clear on how that data is used. OpenAI still records the information we put in, but it's just used and stored in a different way, which we are more understanding about. realistically. But
Do you
please,
have a preference, Robin?
no, I personally don't use DeepSeek for work purely
Mm.
because of the privacy compliance, the things like that. But I do use it to fact check ChatGPT, and I do use it to try to understand if the output I'm getting out of ChatGPT is very basic, realistically. But I don't put in kind of unsafe data or like data that I would mind going missing or being used somewhere else, realistically. But it's a great sense checker, and it's a great, like you saw with the mathematical question, the complex maths. DeepSeek has more contextual understanding. So when it was reading that prompt, it could take it all in. What happened with ChatGPT was it was reading it by line and then making a decision based on what went before rather than the whole picture. So that's where it got off the rails, really, and didn't really give us the right answer when it came out of that one. But I'd highly suggest everybody goes and has a play. It's an AI platform that has been in the news for great reasons and not so great reasons. So it's good to know why and why it hasn't taken off in the way that it would have done if it had a slightly different data privacy protection, transparency about data, less security problems, for example.
Hello, Antonia. Sorry. So you popped into the chat that you tried to create social media posts based of your company's website, and it had came up with 25 posts, the majority of which were all portraying the wrong information, and that was using DeepSeek.
So it's not very good at no LLM before I add a million L's that shouldn't be there, is very good at looking at a live website. So what would be easier is if you copied the information you wanted to create into social posts, for example, into a document and then uploaded that. It can read it much better. It struggles when things are dynamic. So if you have plugins at play, it's your website's trying to collect data of that user on the website, it kind of struggles a little bit there. So if you put it into like a Google Doc or you copy it straight into DeepSeek, it'll have a better chance at doing it for you. And also, it was probably the first time you've asked it that within a conversation. So you need to kind of teach it. It's still in toddler mode, that first few kind of interactions you have in that conversation. So by actually going, well, actually, these are rubbish, number 11 to whatever, 20, like it's, you just tell it and then it can learn how to be better from there. Yeah, thank you, Antonia.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, go and have a go. Highly recommend having a go.
I'll definitely be having a look at DeepSeek.
Yeah.
Medha. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's a big question, Medha. Maybe we have to do a Martech Club on that. Extending to other available AI hubs, Copilot, Gemini, Google AI Studio, Grok. They're relatively similar, but which is still better in terms of relevancy or authenticity? I would say they all have a varying range depending on what you are trying to get out of the AI platform. So Copilot is wonderful because you can have that internally in an organization. So that becomes very powerful. It's like a directory of your organization. So the outputs of that will always be more authentic, realistically. When you do something internally and the database is set by yourself. Gemini, yeah. Google AI Studio, yeah. It purely depends on what you're trying to get out of it. So ChatGPT is a good all-rounder for conversational AI. DeepSeek is really good at analysis and context. So that's what the differences were kind of today. So yeah. And some of those ones as well will probably be absorbed into other things because if you've just seen Google's agent space that has just come out, that's really interesting as well. Yeah, I think that's all the question.
Interesting. So very, very good talk today on DeepSeek and ChatGPT. I know I'm definitely a fan of ChatGPT, so I'll be looking into DeepSeek and yeah, definitely fact checking
Yeah.
everything that comes out of
Yeah.
ChatGPT from now
Just
on.
just make sure she's not leading you on. She's
Yes,
not just telling you things to make things easy. But yeah, it
definitely,
just the odd thing, just double check, and then
definitely,
you can then feel
definitely.
confident, right, for the
Hmm.
next however many. Yeah. Yeah, I
Hmm.
totally agree. Yeah.
Definitely. But yes, if you're interested in us as an organization, so the Oxford College of Marketing, we'd be more than happy to help you through uh, qualifications or upskilling. The course that we typically recommend students who do sit in on the MarTech is the accredited award by the CIM in AI. It's quite popular. It's a very short bite course, meaning it's essentially 6 weeks, and you'd be able to get a nice certificate at the end to demonstrate your skills and knowledge, advertise that on your LinkedIn or on your CV. Obviously, the marketing world is quite fast paced and changing, as you can see from the MarTech clubs that we have. So it's always great to have something. Oh, that's great to hear, Margaret. That's great. It's
Yes, I'm
always
really
great to
looking
see.
forward to the Martech one, Margaret.
So yes, we're more than happy to help. If you do have any questions, feel free to drop me an email. Otherwise, you can always book a one-to-one consultation through the link that I popped in the chat. Otherwise, click through, have a look at our website and see if there's anything that stands out to you. And don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be more than happy to support you in your growth and your career goals as well.
Yeah, I love the new specialist awards. I think they're incredibly powerful. Marketing moves so quickly. To get a
Mm-hmm.
deep dive quickly into specific areas that are growing exponentially is incredibly powerful, actually, from a
Yes.
educational point of view.
Yes, yes. It's very helpful, and obviously because it's not that long form, it's a shorter
Yeah.
bite of knowledge. You can just go in, and then after 6 weeks, you have something to be like, this is what I learned, this is what I know how to do, and this is how I can use it. So it's very, very relevant, very applicable, and then obviously a hot buzz topic, quite current.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think AI we're going to be moaning about for a while.
Yes, yes,
Realistically.
yes. Okay, guys. Well, it's been great spending my lunchtime with you, and then I can imagine for Robin also. And we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks at the next Martech Club.
Yeah. See you soon. Thank you so much.
Bye.